Government affects where we live, where we work, how our children learn, and how our communities grow. Yet too often, the decisions that shape our lives happen without our understanding or participation. That's where Zlography comes in. Welcome to Zlography, where politics is broken down and citizens learn how to govern their government. Hosted by Debz, Zlography examines American politics through a Caribbean lens because informed citizens build stronger communities. This is Zlography. Welcome to Zlography. Today's episode is Building Community Beyond City Hall. I'm your host, Debz. June is Caribbean Heritage Month, a time when we celebrate the contributions and culture and leadership of Caribbean people throughout the United States. Today's guest is a proud son of Antigua and Barbuda, a community leader, a cultural advocate, and public servant whose impact extends far beyond City Hall. Many people know him as Councilman for the City of South Fulton. Others know him as the driving force behind initiatives that bring people together to celebrate diversity and strengthen community connections throughout the city. Today, we're going to go beyond politics to talk about leadership, service, and culture, where it really takes to help build a city. Please join me in welcoming Councilman Jaceey Sebastian. Welcome to Zlography, Jaceey.
Thank you, Debz, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. A lot of people might not know this, but we're both Antiguans from the country of Antigua and Barbuda. What part of Antigua and Barbuda that shaped you the most as a person?
Thank you for that question. Yes, very much proud Antiguan, son of the soil, as we say, dadly we come from, right? And so growing up in Antigua, the things that I learned from my parents, from my village, my aunt, my family, was just the value of hard work and the value of community and caring for people around you. And those things, I've just carried those things with me throughout my life. I mean, whether it's in school, now here in politics or whatever, you know, at the end of the day, hard work pays off. You know, and those are the values that I was happy to learn growing up in Antigua, you know, with family and friends and all those around me who are the influence of my life.
We certainly did learn that hard work does pay off. What is something about Antigua and Barbuda that Americans often misunderstand or never get to see?
I think sometimes people have the misconception that material wealth is wealth, and that they would look in a country like Antigua and Barbuda and consider people there not wealthy. But I'm telling you, it's like, you know, no matter the amount of physical things that you have, material things, you know, when you're from a country like Antigua and Barbuda, you're happy, right? We live in the natural. We go to the beach. We go into the bushes if we want and grab some mangoes or something, right? You know, those things are the things that make life enjoyable in the islands. And quite frankly, those are some of the things that I personally miss. You know, I'm now living here in the States. But yes, material wealth is not what makes one happy. And we find joy in the simplest of things in the islands sometimes. But it's just going outside and taking up a stick and a can and playing, you know, hit ball on the street. You know, that's how we grew up. And those were the happiest of times in my life, really.
Yes, I remember growing up in Antigua, family was so important, especially during the holiday times.
Absolutely.
We went around to different families. I used to climb mango tree and Debz tree.
That's right. Yeah. And don't forget the beach gatherings.
Oh, yes.
You know,
yes.
we just said, family's holiday time, we're going to the beach. Mm-hmm. You know, which one of the beaches we going to? And that was the hardest decision that we had to make. Which one of the beaches?
365 beaches, one for every day of the year.
That's correct. Yeah.
If there was one thing that you can bring from Antigua and Barbuda to the city of South Fulton, what would that be?
I think the work that I've started there, showing the care for community and less about me and caring about others. Because when everyone care for somebody else, everyone gets taken care of, right? And when you do that and you push care out, you know, the Lord have a way of bringing it full circle back to you. And so if I could get that mindset always to people, to care for others and always reach out to, growing up, my parents' home, we were the home where we weren't rich, but we were the home that somehow people turned to for a lot of stuff. And I learned that, and quite frankly, my wife's family too, they were the same. So for us, it's easy as a couple now to just have that mindset and to even raise our children the same way.
So you're saying those are the values that you're bringing to your leadership right now? Absolutely.
There would be no Councilman Sebastian without those values. The reason why I ran for office is to help people in my community. I had no desire to run for political office. As a matter of fact, that's partly why I'm not even in Antigua now, because I was like, I don't want to deal with the politics of it, But the opportunity here just came about purely by accident, And so I decided, after being in the movement to form the city and didn't have any intention of being an elected leader, that after a few years, people keep telling me you should have, and these are the things that you do every day looking after this community, why you need to be in that position. And so that's eventually why I ran for office, to take care of the community. And the day that I feel like I cannot take care of the community is the day I would walk away without hesitation from politics.
No, thank you so much for your service. I have seen you in action. But let me say this. Many immigrants come to America looking for opportunities. Some build businesses, some build careers, some build communities. You chose public service. What is the most important responsibility of a city council member that residents never get to see?
I think it's the level of work that we do. We don't have a clock, right? And yeah, you're right, I chose public service, but I chose public service, relatively later on in my career. I had a career, I started in the research space back in Antigua, in the government of Antigua, and then I moved here, and I was blessed enough after college to go back into that space, and I spent a number of years into that space. But while I was also doing that, I was looking after the community that I lived in, and it expanded from an HOA leadership into a city council member. But those are the things that, again, for me, it's all about helping people. It's all about caring people. So I tell people, here's my personal cell phone number. Use it. Just don't call me at 10 o'clock at night because I sleep early. And if you call me at 10 o'clock at night, I may call you at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm ready to work. But I love serving people. I have a heart for serving people. My parents instilled that in me from early, and that's just who I am as a person.
So what percentage of your work happens outside of city council meetings?
Oh my gosh, the majority of it. City council meetings, now we're blessed to last a couple of hours. Before we had some midnight hours sometimes, but showing up for the city council meetings is really the smaller part of it. First of all, there are issues that you have to research and you have to put time in order to go into those city council meetings and make the right decisions. Then we are a city of 120,000 people, and every day people have issues and they don't quite understand how to navigate the system. And so their first call is to their city council member. Oh. And I'm reminding people now that there are other levels of government other than city council because people have this idea that, the city council man or city council lady will take care of everything. And sometimes there are responsibilities for the state and county government and the federal government. And so what I'm doing, and I've been doing intentionally, right, over the last couple of years, is to educate people as to how government works. Because at the end of the day, if people understand how government works, they will know the right area to go to advocate for themselves. But I am always happy to advocate for residents. And quite frankly, sometimes I advocate for people who are not even in my district, who are not even in my city, just because I have the knowledge and sometimes the connections to do so.
A lot of people don't understand how government work, and that is what we as Zlography and what we are doing here is to try and educate people how government works so that they will go to the polls and vote and even pick up the phone and call their local government. What would surprise most residents about how city government works?
I think a lot of time residents forget that we are governed by a charter, right? And that at the end of the day, the decisions that we make as city council people and even state folks, they're governed by charters. They're governed by things that we can do and we cannot do, right? And so sometimes, whereas you would, sympathize with someone with a particular issue, and you would want to help, your hands are tied. Your hands are tied by that thing called the charter, in which you have to make decisions based on. When I first got elected, someone called me about a development, and I was surprised. He just said, "Well, we just want to know whether we can do it or not." And I said to my wife after that conversation, that was kind of weird. The person was like, thumbs up or thumbs down. No, I don't have that kind of power. You have to make sure things work according to our laws, according to our zoning laws, and according to the process that you have to go through. It's a legal process that you have to go through to establish a project or do a development. So I think sometimes people misunderstand the level of power that a city council person has. Now, I'm not going to tell you we have zero, right? But sometimes people think that we actually have more than we have. And we have to sometimes make decisions according to the charter. And sometimes you don't like the decisions that you would make according to the charter, but that's what it is.
So where would people go to learn about the charter or zoning laws?
Oh, they're on our website. They're on the city's website. It's all on the city website. The charter is there. And at the end of the day, I encourage people, when we have these community meetings, make the time to connect, right? Make the time to at least read a newsletter. We publish a lot of these newsletters, even this morning, right? We were busy working on one to get it out today. But if people are not familiar with an issue before it comes to their doors, I keep telling residents, don't wait until something hits your neighborhood before you're showing up at a meeting and get elected, because at that time you're so emotionally involved that reasons sometimes go out the door, And so I keep telling folks, get involved early. Not telling you to become the city council person and spend the time that we have to, but at least when we put out a thing for a town hall meeting, every 2 months or every quarter, attend, watch the meetings that are recorded online so that you can get a better sense of what we're able to do as city council people and what we cannot do.
I get your newsletters, I think it's once a week.
Yes.
I get them. Sometimes I go through them, and sometimes I don't. But I don't live in the city of South Fulton.
Yeah.
So that makes a big difference. But so I know you send them out. What is one service people use every day but really think about?
But they don't think about.
Yes. What is one city service that people use every day but they don't think about, or they don't know that is being provided by the city?
Well, in the city of South Fulton, we don't control the power. We don't control the water. The water is from the City of Atlanta Watershed Department. The power is by Greystone. There are some cities that control all their utilities.
Okay.
I think most people know that the city collects their trash, right? We do have that service that we started a few years ago, our own internal trash service. But things like making decisions on your land use or what goes where, I don't think folks realize the importance of that process. We build a comprehensive plan, right, that we try to govern by in terms of what dictates our land use and the future development of our city. I think sometimes people take for granted things like our security services, public safety. When things happen, people want the police to be there right away or the fire, and that's great, because that's what we strive for, right? But those things don't come without a lot of hard work in the background, and without us as a city council passing the budget at that level to be able to provide the services that we do.
What is the hardest decision that you have had to make as a public servant when there was no perfect answer?
Actually, it was on a zoning case. Was on a zoning case because, we all hear about these warehouses or data centers and whatever not. Mm-hmm. And, last year there was a decision that was being made about a piece of property. It was not really in my district. And I didn't think that was the highest and best use of that property, right? I didn't personally think so. And we're also all about, conserving trees and green space in the city as well. And I felt the land could have been used for something else.
Okay.
But it was in an industrial park. I was concerned about the impact and the transition between the industry and residents. And those residents were not only in the city of South Fulton, but they were also impacting the city of Fairburn. Oh. Right? So I was concerned about putting warehouses. I think it was like 180 acres of land. Mm. And so I pushed back really hard against it. We defeated or denied that thing. But the folks took us to court, and we had to settle it, right? But in the midst of doing that, we negotiated a lot of benefits towards transportation, traffic flow, where the buildings would be located. Mm. So we had to do all that because it was in an industrial park, and the people had a legal right to do it, according to the zoning, right? And so while we pushed back at it, they really wanted to use it for that purpose. And so the best we could do, given the legal challenge, was to come to the table and negotiate some benefits for the community and how the property will be developed and where the buildings would be located. But that was a hard one.
And that would also bring jobs for the community too, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the things that they explained, that they'll be bringing a few thousand jobs. They said, well, it's not going to be just a regular logistics type center, right? It's going to be one of those high-tech facilities. Mm-hmm. And so again, the bottom line is, we need certain types of development. Yeah, we need warehouses, because guess what? We all shop on Amazon, right?
Yes, okay. Yes, I do.
Amazon, Walmart.com, and the others, right? And we have stuff ordered conveniently to our homes. So without these centers, that would not be possible. I think the fight for me is where these things are located, including data centers. Data centers are not only are they necessary, but they're actually national security issues, right? If you think about it, the amount of data and information that's exchanged across the information highway, if you don't have data centers and something were to happen, in this country and that whole network go down, how do we manage a country of 370,000 people, or whatever the number is right now, right, without having a way to communicate efficiently to people? So they're necessary, but it's where you put them and the impact that they have on our local communities and our local resources. And I think those are the type of things that we need to be at the table as the people who dictate the local land use, mm-hmm. as to where these data centers and warehouses go and the impact that they have on our local community and the resources in these local communities.
I understand about data center. I worked at HP, and we had one of the most beautiful data center. When you walk into it, it looks like if it's a house, and it's a huge building, mm-hmm. with it's like little buildings inside of it, beautiful. And I also worked at Google as a contractor, so mm-hmm. I do understand data centers. What is a community problem you've worked on that has never made headlines but had an impact on its residents?
I keep wondering why the Autism Fest that I host every year has not been picked up by the media here in Atlanta and has not been given more attention. And, for some people, it is not sexy, right? Mm-hmm. It is not something that people want to go out and raise a flag about. But you know what? We have an underserved population in our area and in our city. My own last son is autistic, and honestly, I started that whole movement even without thinking about him being on the spectrum. And so we've done this for 5 years now. We've had people coming from 8 or 9 counties around Georgia just for that one day where we create a safe space, where we provide vendors and service providers for that community. And people feel comfort, a sense of comfort, bringing their kids into Wilkerson Mill Park, same place where we have the International Fest.
Okay.
And we created and make it in such a way that families are comfortable being there. There was this lady that showed up this past April, and her sons she was with twin sons who are on the spectrum, and she drove 2 hours to get there, and her sons are in their 50s. She said, I just wanted to come here. I know about this festival. I wanted to come here, see what was here, and to just give my boys, as she said, just a place where they can feel like they're among people that understand and care for them. That has not quite been picked up and pushed by the media here in Atlanta yet, but we're not just doing that work for show. Out of that festival has now born our second annual autism camp, right? Where we, for 4 weeks, 2 4-week period during the summer, we're just about to finish the first 4 week and going to pick up the next 4 week at the beginning of next month, where we invite kids, parents to bring their kids. They can drop them off. We have the experts there who know how to engage, know how to entertain. Even their diet is designed with that population in mind. And so we want to bring more attention and more services to the region, right? And that's why we do this. So it's a good work, and it's not a work that we'll stop because it does not get media attention.
How can we bring more attention to your autism camp?
Well, by doing stuff like this, talking about it, getting the word out. I am being purposeful, a little bit more purposeful now in doing my own media push, right?
Okay.
And so you'll probably have seen some things on the news recently, a little bit more about some of the things that I'm doing, because I'm doing my own initiatives now to get push out there on some of the things that we're doing. We just finished the men's event a couple of weeks ago, the men's health event, where we offered free PSA testing. So when you do read your newsletter, there's a little video in the newsletter. So make sure you click on that link.
I will definitely go back and look at it.
There's a nice article in there from this morning.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you. I definitely will go back and look at it. I saw that it came in this morning. However, I didn't get a chance to fully read it, or I just went through it superficially.
Right.
But your newsletters have been extremely informative, at least for me, and hopefully I can share them with the public. And being here at Zlography, especially Autism Awareness Month, is so important, and we need to. Autism is one of those things that we don't know enough about.
And honestly, the more I learn, about it, is the more I think that it's not as uncommon as people think, right? I've learned about traits, and we joke within our own family that we're all on the spectrum. They say, "Dad, you're doing that thing again." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's true," and it's okay. It's quite okay, and we love on each other, and we love people regardless. One of the things, I grew up with, I was always different than the people, and I knew it, and I was always comfortable with it. One of my favorite things I've seen over the internet, over the years, is this graphic with all of these eggs that are white, and there's one yellow one in the mix, and the saying goes, they laugh at me because I am different, but I laugh at them because they're all the same.
Yes.
It's like one of my favorite quotes ever. I love that quote. Yeah. So I'm good. I've always been comfortable in who I am. Yeah.
That is great. I know I'm different and I celebrate that within myself. How does how do you balance the need of one neighborhood against the needs of the entire city?
It's about the greater good. I This reminds me of a call I had about 2 years ago. One of my neighbors called. One of the neighbors, I call them all my neighbors in my city. One of the neighbors called, and she was really complaining about this development that was coming across the street from her own community. And these are homes that range from about 900,000 to 2 million, right? And she was complaining, we're bringing big houses, more, so I let her talk for a while. And then I asked her one question. I said, "Ma'am, do you love your house?" And she said, "Yeah, I love my house." And then she went on to talk about her house. So I let her finish again. I said, "Ma'am, do you know what the people who lived here before your neighborhood was built, you know what they were saying when they were building your community? We don't want anybody else here." So now you're here and you love your house. So, trust us to make the right decision to diversify our housing here. Because our area is such a nice area. Our city is such a nice city. My area is like the cream of the crop, I must say. Right? Right? That, we do have those homes, that cost millions of dollars. And we do have the market for them, right? I mean, if you think about it being so close to the airport, right? And, you're 15, 20 minutes out of the busiest airport in the world. Right, and with space for a lot of land, you can own anything from a townhome to a farmhouse, right, and everything in between. So when we have to make decisions, especially in zoning cases, you always have to weigh not only against the law, but what is it for the greater good. And sometimes progress will entail some inconvenience, and it's okay. Some of us moved out there originally because we love the quiet. We love to see the deer show up in our yard. They still do. But if we're going to bring more services closer to the people, there will be some inconvenience. We'll have to remove some trees. We'll have a little bit more traffic. But it's our job to make sure we budget and have a staff that would improve that infrastructure. And where necessary, we look to the state and federal government to also help do their part in improving some of the infrastructure that they are responsible for.
At city council meetings, when the residents say, "No, we don't want this," how do you tell them that it's a must?
By trying to educate them.
Okay.
Again, we have a situation where we had a study done by the Atlanta Regional Commission last year. And what that study showed was that we are a city of a lot of single-family homes, and we need to diversify our housing stock. And I've been preaching that since before I was on council. So I've been preaching that for a while. Taste for people for housing, it is just different, right? The younger folks who are coming out of college, not only are the homes so much more expensive now, but they don't want to live the way that we live with a 4 or 5 bedroom, 6 bedroom house, right? They want a smaller place. They don't want to cut the grass. They don't want to ride it more. Okay, they want to have a smaller place, and they want to be able to walk and have a coffee shop or go and have a sandwich. Pull out their phones and laptop and do some work. We can't get that by just building neighborhoods of single-family homes alone. We have to create some denser communities with mixed use, with the shops and all that sort. And with that, it's going to come traffic, right? It's going to come a little bit of an inconvenience. But the people who are tired of driving everywhere for everything, Eric, and they tell me that all the time. Council member, I'm tired. I'm tired of driving to Atlanta. I'm tired of driving to Fayetteville. I need some stuff close to me, right? So we have to do those things. And sometimes telling people no in that case that we must do this, they may not understand at that point in time, because again, they're looking to protect by right their own world, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's the greater good, as I mentioned before, that our responsibility is to make those decisions for the greater good.
What is the biggest misconception residents have about local government?
I mentioned it before that we can do everything. We can do thumbs up, thumbs down, and make those decisions of everything. I also think they don't understand that we're not operations people, right? We're legislators, and we do our legislative work, and we do the most important thing that we do as a local government, that we pass this budget. And we give it to the local operators, which is the city management staff and the directors and the workers. And they're the ones that are responsible for executing stuff every day. Now, if residents have challenges for whatever reason, yes, reach out to your city council person. We encourage that all the time. That's why we put out these newsletters. That's why we put out these numbers and telephone numbers, so that when they do have issues, they can reach out and say, listen, I've tried this, but I'm not getting it. So help me to figure it out. And that's okay. But sometimes citizens don't understand that we don't get up every day and go into the office to work to control things. That's not our role at all.
What is one thing that residents can do to help local government work better?
Educate themselves about local government, right? And to know and understand exactly what we can do as city council members, what the operations or management staff is responsible for, and also beyond local government, what are some of the other government and structures that exist that can help them solve their issues. I would never forget Congressman David Scott. May he rest in peace.
Yes.
I had a call with him very early in my tenure to discuss this landfill that was burning in my district. And what he said to me at that time was, when I explained to him what was happening, he already knew of the issue, but he said, council member, your residents are my residents as well. In other words, we have several representatives that from the local government, school board, up to the President of the United States, right? They're all different levels of government, and we're all responsible for different services. And I think if our population are educated enough to help figure that out, it will even make their voting decisions different, right? Because sometimes you're thinking that your state senator or your councilman is responsible for something, and it's not within our purview. Yeah.
Okay. What inspired you to move beyond City Hall and create cultural initiatives?
Actually, the initiative started before I was in City Hall. There was a reason that residents wanted me to run for this office, because they were like, you're a de facto council person anyway. You might as well go and get the job, because I was doing things in the community anyway. I was hosting certain festivals and doing that stuff before. What is now my international festival started as my fall festival before I was a city council person. And so once I became a city council person, I now had more resources from the government. I know how the budget I could work with rather than trying to figure out how to scratch and do it. And so I actually took some things with me into City Hall and actually created other things coming out of because I was there, and as I just mentioned, had a thing. But again, back to that whole aspect of caring about your community. I was living in a community that just nothing was happening. And that's part of the reason why the folks kept pushing me, say, Councilman Jaceey, nothing is happening out here, right? You need to go and you need to help stuff happen here. So that's part of what I keep telling people. Part of why I was elected is to make stuff happen within my community, whether it's, encouraging festivals to happen or supporting small businesses or, doing food drives and that sort of stuff to, help folks out. that's just what I've been doing. And as long as the Lord gives me health and strength, whether I'm in government or out of government, that's just part of my life, and that will continue.
Thank you. I can testify to that. I do your International Cultural Festival every year. This is our 3rd year, and it will be on September 19, 2026. Come out and enjoy it. What community project are you most proud of, and why?
I have several of them that I'm proud of, but I'm going to tell you the one that I default to for this question. Is something called Fire and Ice, right? And you'll say, what is Fire and Ice?
Yeah.
Well, within the first about 3 months of me being in elected office, we had like 4 or 5 fires in the district. And it was a very hot, dry year. 2 of those fires were grass fires.
Oh.
But the other 3 were started by kids playing with matches or candles. And so I was racking my brain to figure out, wow, why is this happening? I thought we were, kids would be mischievous, but to have this happen so frequently in just a short space of time, I just tried to figure out how I can have an impact on the community that I love. One of the fires, it was 3 doors down from my own house.
Oh,
I went out for lunch, and when I was driving back, I saw all the smoke as I was turning to my community, and I was like, please, Lord, don't let it be my own house is on fire, right? Yes, and it was one of those homes where a kid was playing with some matches and caused the house to burn.
Oh.
So I came up with this idea, right? And I said, well, why don't I put kids together, with ice cream, and to teach them fire safety while I'm doing so. Oh. If you ever meet a kid that says they don't like ice cream, that's a problem. But so I came up with the idea about bringing them out to a local ice cream shop and teaching them fire safety, right? And so the first year, it went okay. And about 4 months after it happened, we have it in mid-April. And about 4 months after it happened, this lady approached me randomly and said, Councilmember, I needed to talk to you. She said, my son came to Fire and Ice, and on Father's Day, our home caught fire. And the kid was 13 years old, and he got his aunt, his sister, and his mother out the house, right? And then he said to them, because the fire started in the kitchen, he said to them, I learned at Fire and Ice what to do. And before they could stop him, he went back in the house, located the extinguisher, and put the fire.
That's great.
And by the time our fire department got there, they just had a cleanup job to do. So this 13-year-old, by just getting that piece of education, so even if they came just for an ice cream cone, they learned something, and he was able to save his family's home and from major damage. And so that for me was like, there it is. That's the reason why we do some of these things and put education around them. So it's not just to come out and have fun. It's making sure we educate people around some of these issues. So I'm very proud of that program. We just finished, again, the 5th year of that one, right? And I'm very proud of that, and something that we should keep going. And honestly, it brings the community into the fire service, right? And there's one kid that show up every single year. He must have been coming since he's like 3 years old, right? And so I always call him the future fire chief, right? Because if nobody else shows up, that one kid is going to show up and get his ice cream, take his pictures, and he'll picture with the fireman in his fire hat. Yeah, so very proud of that initiative.
I love that story, JC. But let me just say this. In Antigua, there's a saying, if your neighbor house on fire, wet for you.
That's correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, so again, the more we can teach people, our citizens and our children, Not only about fire safety, local government, just how things work. Is the better off we can be. We spend our time being more productive rather than dealing with, sometimes routine problems.
What has cultural events taught you about leadership?
I always knew that, as I talked about being different, I think the biggest thing that I learned from doing the international festival especially is some of the people that I did not know who, just like me, had roots in other places. The other thing is people need to be comfortable in themselves, that despite being from someplace else, the one thing we have in common, we're all Americans. And I insist, this, that when we have the international festival, that the American culture don't get lost within that whole thing. Because, especially from the Caribbean, we are bright, we are loud, our music is awesome, the food is fabulous, right? So it can take over a space. So the reason why I have the American tent up front and larger is just that it doesn't get lost in everything else. Because yes, we do have the American culture, and different parts of this big, beautiful country also has different cultural aspects that we all need to learn as well, right? And so I've just learned that not enough people are comfortable being both.
Oh.
My T-shirt that I wear every year to the international festival is a blend of the American flag and the Antiguan flag, right? And it says, "Yes, I'm both," because I am both, and I'm proud to be both.
We are both, and I am proud to be American, and I'm proud to be an Antiguan. And one thing you have taught the city of South Fulton is one of Antigua's national dish, dukkana and saltfish.
Oh, girl, don't even get me started. I'm going to call his name, Clerk Adams. He had dukkana and saltfish for the first time last year, and Clerk Adams was like, man, it's amazing, right? So, so hopefully we can get more people, to go beyond the Jamaican food. I tell people all the time, Jamaican food is not the only food from the West Indies. So,
we have so many Caribbean islands, and at your festival, we taste just about everything from different Caribbean islands. Why is culture important to the future of the city of Fulton?
Because we are a big, diverse city that made up, the motto of Jamaica is out of many, one people, right? I love that motto.
I do too.
Right behind each endeavor and all achievement, of course. but I think it's kind of important for us as a city to recognize our diversity beyond being, as they call us, the blackest city in America, being 92%, I believe, African American. I think within that we still have a level of diversity. One of the nice groups I like at the international festival is the Asian group.
Yes.
Right? I mean, again, you learn some things. I've never been to China, right? Never been to Japan, so that's my Asian exposure, right? And our friends from the Asian community would come out, and they will. They'll set up their booths, and you get to learn some stuff. You get to get some treats and stuff, and you have some conversations, right? And so I think the more we are able to bring different people and different perspective and let people know that they are accepted, right? Is the more they can feel comfortable in being productive citizens. And if you feel like you're a part of something, you will build it. If you don't feel like you're a part of, you will not put your effort and energy into it. So I think that's one of the responsibilities that we have.
Councilman Jaceey Sebastian, thank you for joining us on Zlography. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for your commitment to building stronger communities. And thank you to our viewers for joining us. Remember, democracy is not a spectator sport. The more informed and engaged we are, the stronger our communities become.
Well, thank you for having me, Debz. It was a pleasure sitting here and talking to you about government and what our citizens can do. And speaking of citizens and community engagement, there are a couple of things that's coming up. You'll also see them in the newsletter. Next Thursday, we're having our monthly farmers market at 6000 Landmark Way. And this month, because of Caribbean American Heritage Month and FIFA, we're having an international twist to that event. Next Thursday, starting at 4 p.m. Also, next weekend is one of the other signature events that's happening in our city. It's called Three Wheel Mania Sling Fest. It starts next week Thursday and run until next week Saturday. On Friday and Saturday, we'll be at Wilkinson Mill Park. On Friday, we start at 5 p.m. And that night, we'll have a game night and the sling light competition. You know, these things, they have all sort of pretty lights in them. And then on Saturday, we start at with a parade that's going to take off from the Roosevelt Plaza near Wayfield on Highway 29. And we're making our way down to Wilkinson Mill Park for the big day. That's going to be like the sound competition. You know, these slings and cannons, they make music like no other machines I've heard. And we'll just spend the rest of the day and the evening, entertaining people, talking to people about our city and our state. Last year, we had people from 10 states and the Bahamas at that event, right? So it's one of the biggest tourism draw in our city. So we don't want to leave the locals out. So come out and have yourselves a good time too. And guess what? This is all free. There's no cost to attend. So if you're looking for entertainment next weekend, we got you covered. District 4.
Love it. Love it. Does someone get on your newsletters?
Oh, it's simple. Go on the city's website, cityofsouthfultonga.gov, and go on the government and look up City Council, and all my contact information is there.
Thanks for being here on Zlography. I've learned so much, Councilman Jaceey.
You're more than welcome.
I'm Debz. This is Zlography, American politics through a Caribbean lens. One thing I would like you to do this week, identify one issue in your community that matters to you. Then find out which level of government is responsible for addressing it. Many people know the problem. Few know who has the authority to fix it. The first step to governing your government is knowing where your decisions are made. To find out more information about Zlography, go to zlography.com. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Join us next week for another episode with leaders, change makers, and community builders who are helping shaping the future of our communities. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, stay involved.